Hey everybody, Joy here. It is Sunday, 12:30 in the afternoon, and it's June 13, 2021. And I have a finished quilt. I'm not going to show it to you right now though. Although if you have a lightning fast mind like mine, I guess you can figure out how you can see it, whether I want you to see it now or not. I want to show you some amazing inventions. Amazing inventions for quilters. Better than the invention, well, no, not better than, but the most amazing inventions, in my opinion, for quilters since the invention of thread and needles. So are you ready? Are you ready? I have my quilt all done. I want a pocket on the back of it, a tube, so I can put a pole in it and hang it up. I've decided I'm going to hang it right here because this is my sewing room. I have this hung up on a hang it dang it. If you all don't know about the hang it, you need to learn about it. It is the easiest, most simple, uncomplicated way to hang up a quilt. It takes one nail and one nail only. You want to see what one is? I'll put one in this video for you, but I'll have to go get it. So, I hope I don't forget to show you that. But before I show you that, I want to show you what somebody invented in order to make a pocket for your quilt back. And there's different ways. I could have attached it when I put the binding on, but I didn't want to. I like my binding to be only binding. I don't like anything else to be attached to it. You can use a fabric, this is my binding fabric, and you can cut yourself very, very easily. Just two long rectangle pieces. It usually takes two for width of fabric because the quilts are usually wider than a cotton fabric, which is usually, what, 45 inches wide? This quilt is 53 inches wide. So you'd have to cut more than one strip. And then you have to sew the strips together, then you have to finish the edges, then you have to put a seam, then you have to fold in the ends, and then you have to. So somebody, and I love whoever he or she was that invented this. It's called, right here, Quilters Hang Up. That's called a hang it dang it. This is called a quilter's hang up. You have to have one of these in order to put the hang it dang it inside it, okay? Quilter's hang up. Don't go sleeveless. Ready to use pleated quilt sleeve 100% cotton, and it comes 3 yards long. So I don't have to cut up any fabric, and I don't have to sew it together, and I don't have to hem it, and I don't have to do anything. So here it is. See? I took this out of that box. And it has to be pleated. You see how it's pleated? It has this little extra room in it. And that's because when you stick the pole in it, the pole is going to take up part of the room. And the poles that they used to use were about 3 inches wide. Now my pole is just really skinny and I probably wouldn't even really need that pleat, but I'm going to use it anyway. Because anything you put in there is going to take up some room, obviously. So we're going to sew this on. Play like I'm the quilt. Don't look at my neck. Let's get back here, Joy. Play like I'm the quilt. We're going to sew it on all along both edges, the top edge and the bottom edge, to the back of the quilt. Now I don't know if the colored zigzags go inside. I bet they go on the inside. And so it's going to be sewn on here at the top of my quilt. And then I can take the hang it dang it and stick it in there and just, amazing. I'll just take this quilt off of it, put this quilt on it, and I don't have to do anything else. That's all I have to do. I am so excited. And would you believe this is kind of a little quilt? Because you know I made it out of Jenny Doan's block magazine. And her quilt was, mine's 5 sewing machines wide. Hers was like 8 sewing machines wide. And so mine is much smaller than hers. But even though I made mine much smaller, I made mine 5 machines by 7 machines, it's wider than my Edit to Sitar Winter Village. So it's a very nice sized quilt. But it's lunchtime and I have to go downstairs and find something to feed us And then I'll come back and I'll show you some more really wonderful quilting notion inventions. I'm back from lunch, so I thought I would show you the hang it dang it. So you can do exercises with it if you want. I have a dowel downstairs that I do waist twist with, and as you can see I need to do a whole lot more of them. Okay, so this is a hang it dang it. It's probably, no, I don't need that one for hanging that quilt. This is for a really wide quilt. This is the medium size hang it dang it. Then I think there's a small size hang it dang it. So let me show you how it works. Come out, wherever you are. This is it. You can make it bigger, or you can make it littler. Let me see if that's what's holding that one up. Yeah, that's what's holding this one up. So you can see it can be this little or this big. And so if you go on, hey, how about I put them in my Amazon store? Hello! I just made a note to put these in my store. They're not cheap, but they are worth every single penny. I'd pay twice the price for them. So, obviously you can make it big or little. It has this little clamp. This little clamp is the key, because this little clamp is what you put your one nail in. See, play like this is a nail. The nail goes right there. See? That's the nail, and you nail it to the wall. In the center, there is a, what do you call that? A crack, a crevice, a divot, a line in the middle. And so you have to attach this in the middle, and the quilt has to be centered, and then you just hang it on the nail. This is the exact same thing, it's just a lot bigger, and you would use a bigger nail. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I just love this for hanging up my quilts. So far I've shown you two really good inventions. The Quilters hang up and the hang it dang it. So they're both for hanging. They're both for hanging so far. Go in there. You know, you can never get anything back in the tube, right? Murphy's Law. Yesterday, I put the binding on my quilt. I actually made a video showing you how, but the camera died and half of it wasn't there, so just forget that part. I cut my quilt bindings 2 1/4 inches wide. Then I sew them on with the sewing machine. You know, you take your quilt binding strips, you cut them 2 1/4 inches wide. Then what I do with mine is, while they are still strips, I did a video on this sometime in my life. If I can find the video, I'll link it below. But I take my strips, 44 inches long, 42 inches long, however long they are, and I lay them out on my ironing board. Then I squirt them all with Mary Ellen's no smell starch. I buy the unscented, and I soak them. Then I just let them lie there for a minute or two till that starch goes down into all the strips. Then, they're still damp, I fold them long ways in half and press them. Then I hang them on my long arm to dry if they're still wet. If they're dry enough, then I join them end to end and sew the diagonal seam. But I like to fold them in half while they're still short, because if I had sewn them all together, they would have been 245 inches long, and I would have had to keep pulling all this yardage off of my ironing board. Much better to do them when they're short. How do you figure out how long you need it? Very easy. So you have to know how wide your quilt is and how long your quilt is. Then you take how wide it is. Mine was 55 plus 55. The length was 66. I think it was 66 plus 66. Then you add that together. That was a sneeze break. So let me see if I can still add and subtract. So that's 12 plus 12 is 24. That's the right answer. Okay? So I have a total of 242 inches that I need binding to be as long as. I need my binding to be at least 242 inches. However, you need your binding to cross over itself. So I always add 12 inches for that. So now we've got 254 inches. Now why do we even need to do that, Joy? What's it for? Because you have cotton fabric to cut into strips. Your strips are going to be 2 1/4 inches wide by however wide this piece of fabric is. Now this piece of fabric is a little longer than 45, I believe. Let me look. Yeah, half of it is 23. So this piece of fabric is 46 inches long. Now I always just divide by 42 just to be safe, but knowing that I can get probably 45 inches out of this, I know I got at least 44, because you have to cut, you have to cut the ends off, you have to cut the selvages off. So whatever you determine your length is going to be when you cut these strips, I figured mine 42 inches. Actually came out a little longer, no problem. If you end up with too much binding, that's wonderful. If you end up with not enough binding, that's the end of the world. Not really, but you could just go cut more and add it on. So what do we do with that number now? We take that number and we divide it by how long our strips are going to be from the cotton that we're going to cut. So you take 254 and you divide it by 40, I'm going to say 42 inches because that's usually how much it is, equals, so 254 inches divided by 42 inches is 6.05. Now, I later came and measured this and found out it was going to be 44 inches, so I didn't have to cut over 6. If it had only been 42 inches, I would have had to cut 6 1/2 or 6 1/4 to come up with that 0.05. Okay? So I cut 6 strips of this. That's how many I cut. Then I put the strips on my ironing board. I squirted them with the starch. I folded them in half. I pressed them, let them dry, then I joined them end to end. Okay? So that's how I do it. That's how I do it. Nobody has to do it like that if they don't want to. You know, there's more than one way to do just about everything. Okay, here's the next thing I wanted to tell you. I don't make that many quilts. And a lot of my quilts that I do make, I put the binding on completely with the sewing machine. I decided yesterday that I wanted to sew the back of this binding on by hand, because I didn't want to stay up here and do it. I wanted to go downstairs and be with Jerry. And I wanted to talk to him. He was in the office and I sat in a chair in the living room with my feet up, and I brought everything down to hand stitch this binding to the back. It's really quite enjoyable. I really like doing it. So what I use, and again this is just a joy, and it looks like I didn't bring my needle package up here. I hauled all this stuff downstairs. Okay, I'm back from downstairs. I left so much stuff down there. You know about these Wonder Clips, I'm sure. Let me put those away. Here's the needles that I use. 20 sharps for general use by Dritz. I'll put those in my Amazon store. This is a really good needle to hold in your hand because you're going to go in and up and in and up and in and up and in and up. And so it comes out, so it's right here on your finger, your middle finger that you would put a thimble on. You want it to hit the head of the needle. And so you can be able to hold the front of the needle with your thumb and your first finger. And then you can rock it with your back finger. I have thimbles. I have a gold, not real gold, I have a gold colored thimble, I have a silver colored thimble, I have a green plastic thimble, I have all kinds of thimbles. I cannot get one to stay on my finger. Or they're awkward, or they keep falling off, or they go sideways, or the needle goes up under it. I just hate them. I cannot work a thimble. Here's the thimbles I told you, a couple of them I took downstairs, and I thought, oh, that fits that finger, that fits that finger. They just fall right off. I went to put those thimbles away, and look what I found. You say, well, try this thimble, try that thimble, try this thimble. Look at how many I have. And here you can see I have another one of these, and it's got the sticky thing in the back of it, only it's really old. And I need to find the rest of the sticky things that go with that. But see how it sticks to the end of your finger? Now that is the kind I like to work with, right there. Because that's where I poke the needle. Wonderful, fabulous, amazing. But then again, the little rubbery things I showed you earlier and the corks work just as good. I don't even know what this is. Hello. What the heck is that? Maybe you stick it there like that. And it's, that's a strange one. I think I'll open a thimble store. What do you think? So, what I do is I start to sew. And I'll put it in, rock it up. Put it in, rock it up. Well, right away, you will poke the end of your finger. And you'll have a hole in it. So you'll know exactly where you can put one of these little sticky pads. And I'm getting all out of the camera. You can put these little sticky pads and stick them to your finger. And they stick really, really good. And if they don't, you could use some of that It Stays stuff I hold my bra straps up with. But you put these on the tip of your finger. So not only do you hit the tip of that finger, you start to get sore on other parts of your finger. I found that I kept hitting my finger down here. So I put a dot on the tip of my finger and I put a dot here. And then after I was 3/4 of the way around the quilt, I was having a hard time pulling the needle through. So I put a little sticky pad here and a sticky pad here so they would grab the needle and pull it through easier. So these things are amazing. So you have these clear silicone type sticky things. You have these white sticky things, which I'm not sure what they do. Then you have this. This is cork, little round cork things. And you can stick those all over your fingers and your thumbs. And they stay. And then I just discovered this one. This is a long oval. You could wrap that oval around the tip of your finger. How amazing would that be? Oh, I just can't wait to finish my mystery quilt so I can play with these again. So I just added all these thimble products to my Amazon store under quilting supplies. Not very expensive. I just ordered 2 more sets, 2 different things, and it was like $12. So, and some of these are definitely to glue these little metal tips to your fingers. But I used them without the metal tips yesterday and they work great. So either way, the metal tip might work a little better for longer. I don't know. But when I get my new package, I'm going to label what goes with what. Because I've removed the words, the directions, the whatever you want to call it. And it's a cute little box that opens and shuts and everything fits in it real nice. See? So when I get my new one, I'll save the directions to see what goes with what. I put the needles that I use in there. I put the hang-it-dang-its in my shop. Always, always below my videos, click on the description box. I think it says more or something. And there'll be a link to my Amazon store always. And yes, I get 2 or 3 cents if you order something. It's the same price whether you order it through my link or somebody else's link or through Amazon Direct. It's still the same price to you, but it gives me a little bit of money. Okay? To pay for these. I'm going to show you something else, a really cool thing, since I'm here in the close-up camera. I first was threading my needle the normal way, and it kept coming unthreaded. It was driving me crazy because these needles are really, really hard to thread. Even if you have one of those little wire things, I never can get the wire thing through the silly hole. I end up bending the wire thing so it's not even recognizable. So I'm going to show you how to thread a needle so it doesn't come unthreaded. The first thing you're going to need is some thread. Here's some thread, Fred. And it's on the needle like I'm getting ready to show you so it won't come off. So hold on a second here. Okay, so the first thing you need is some thread, okay? I also always put my thread through this waxy stuff. This is called, I think it's called Miracle Wax. You can put it on and then iron it, or you can just put it on. I think it's called Miracle Wax, but I'm not sure, and the name is gone. So you run it through. You run it through the wax. I don't know why the wax has glitter in it, but that's the way it came. Then I kind of just rub it in a little bit so it's way down in there, okay? So now I'm going to show you how to thread a needle so it doesn't come unthreaded. And you would think this would be hard to do, but it's actually easier to do than the normal way. I learned this from Sharon Chamber. If y'all don't know Sharon Chamber, S-C-H-A-M-B-E-R, look her up. That woman is an unbelievable quilter. Unbelievable. She's got one she made $100,000 on. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to fold this, leave a little tail, not a big tail, unless I like to make my thread way, 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 way long, so I'll fold it in half at first if I thread it the normal way, because then you can move it up and down the needle. But when you do this way, you can't leave a long tail because you can't move your needle once you thread it this way. So leave a short tail, take your thread around your finger and pull it. Hold both threads, both sides of the thread, both tails, and pull it tight. Pull it tight, and yes, I have a torn fingernail there. Pull it tight, and then take your needle, and don't put the thread through the needle, put the needle over the thread. So you're going to needle the thread, not thread the needle. This is wonderful if you're sewing hems or anything. Then you stick it through the head. Now you may have to do it several times, but hold it. See, I'm holding it so you can't even see it. It's way down there. It looks like a little bitty flea. But look at that. Can you see that? It went right through the eye of that needle. Then you come around. I probably didn't leave a long enough tail for this procedure. You have to leave a long enough tail to do this, and I didn't. So I'm going to pull it through and make a longer tail. Okay, longer tail. You got to leave a long enough tail. So, can the camera see this real good? This is what I have right now. So then you pull this through, pull this loop through far enough that you can put your needle through the hole, through the loop, and pull it back down. See here? I put the needle through the loop and I'm pulling it back down. Now there is no way that is going to come unthreaded because it's basically tied around. Hey, look, I can still pull it. It's basically tied around the head of the needle. It is wonderful, 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 wonderful. So as you're going through and up and through and up and through and up and through and up, your needle is not going to come unthreaded. It's wonderful. It doesn't get caught, it doesn't get stuck. You tie off your knot, you cut this off, and then you just try to find the loop. Find the loopiness of it. There's the loop, see the loop? And then you just pull the loop and unthread it. Yay! Okay, so you take the thread, you put your wax on it already. You're going to pull it really tight, kink in it. Like that, so it's just a bug. Then you're going to take this and you're going to needle, look, see how it comes up through it? Isn't that wonderful? And then you flip it, put the point through the loop. I haven't seen or heard about Sharon Chamber in years. She is a major quilter. See? Yay! I noticed up here at the top of Winter Village, hanging a little bit crooked now. Go straight, Nate. I noticed up here at the top of Winter Village that you can see the clamp in the middle. And so I'm moving this hanging pocket. I am going to move it down about a ½ inch from the binding. That one on Winter Village I sewed right along the binding. This one I'm going to move down about a ½ inch because this is actually made, this quilt sleeve is actually made for one of those wide, old-fashioned kind of quilt hanger-uppers. So since this is just a little round bar, it doesn't take up near as much room, so I'm going to move it down, and hopefully the little place where the nail goes in the clamp won't show it. I've got my quilt sleeve here. We know that this colored thread goes on the back. We know that this pleat has to face up. So we've got the pleat going up, we've got the colored thread on the back, and I have the center of my quilt marked there, and I'm going to line up the center of this sleeve right there, and then I'm going to sew it to that red line that will come off with an iron. I'm going to sew it there, so when I put my hanger-danger in it, it won't go up so high. Okay, I'll be back. Alright, so I put it up here to sew it on so you could watch me, and I wanted you to see I have the metal thimble stuck on my finger, and it's still got the sticky thing from years ago when I used it, and it still sticks. And it's a good thing because I can't figure out which one of those sticky sheets is to put behind the metal thimble. It works really, really good. Then I've got a pad here to help me pull the needle, and I have a pad here because the pin comes back and hits me on the back of that finger. I'm not sure it's even in the right place yet. Now I'm using a double thread. I threaded the needle the same way so it couldn't come undone. And I'm using a double thread. Don't look at all the messes in here. I'm all done. I got to take the stickies off of me. And then I'm going to take down that quilt and I'm going to put up the new quilt with the hang it dang it. Are you ready? Are you ready? All right, let's see. We're going to unhook this one nail. I may have to get sideburns up here. See here? The hanging sleeve on the back of this is black. And see, here's the little, I didn't say it was easy to get on and off. See, there's the little thing. That's the only thing holding up this entire quilt. And so I'm going to take this hang it dang it out of here. See? There it is. That's the hang it dang it. So we're going to take this quilt, fold it up, and put it with all of my other quilts. I have center marked on the back, so I'm going to mark it on the front right there. So that's the center. This is the quilt pocket on the back, right here. It's got the pleat. There's the pocket. We're going to take the hang it dang it and we're going to put it in here. Now if you weren't making a movie, you could be more eloquent or something in doing this, but you also want to sew down the back side of the end of this pocket so you don't accidentally get this hang it dang it in the wrong place. Okay? So now what you have to do is get the crack. Remember I showed you there was a crack in this? You can feel it if you're lucky. If you're lucky ducky, you can feel it. Here it is. The crack is here. So I have to get that crack over to the center. You got to have it right in the center. You can feel it. It's still right there. Feel your way. Who remembers what movie that's from? Feel your way. Oh yeah. I watched it last night. There, that seems to be right in the center. Seems to be right in the center. So now you take and you squish this little thing on right in the center. Okay? Does that make sense? You can see the little hoosie squished on the whatchet, right in the middle. Everything has to be in the middle. And you can see it's a big pocket, bigger than it needs to be. Now I know it's hanging out both sides. We don't care about that as long as that middle's in the middle. So let's turn it around and come up here and put it on the nail. Aha! Yes, I like it since I put it farther down on the quilt top. Is that even, Stephen? Is it even? Is it done yet? Oh, I haven't even seen it myself. Oh, it's awesome! Awesome! Oh, it's so nice to look up there and see a new quilt. All right, my friends, that's all I know for today. It is 4:10 in the afternoon, and I have completely finished it, and I need to name it. I started out with the name for it, but I'm not sure I like it. I was going to call it Needle Little Love. Needle Little Love. See, like you need a little love, only I'm going to call it Needle Little Love. Is that dumb? Tell me if you can think of a better name for it. I'll be back. I don't know when, but sometime.